Initiating moisture.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Do I Need a Haircut, where we answer the question, Do I need a haircut? And the answer is a resounding yes on this week's episode. Now, before I can get a haircut, I must analyze the moisture content of the movie Happy Death Day. It's a movie that just came out, and I just saw it. The movie is a simple premise, very similar to Groundhog Day, but with a slasher twist. It's basically the Dark Souls of Groundhog Day movies. The story is simple enough. A lady gets killed and then she keeps repeating the day over and over again until she can solve her own murder. The story takes a little bit of twists and turns here and there. It's got a nice little romance subplot too. There's nothing special about the story here. Really, there's nothing special about the whole movie, but everything it does pretty well and it's enjoyable. Now, I will say one of my biggest complaints is there's a severe lack of 50 Cent in this movie. The trailers really hyped it up with the 50 Cent song, and I was kind of disappointed that it turns out it's not even in the movie. I don't mean to spoil it. If you're going to see it for the 50 Cent soundtrack, you will be disappointed. Now, it also does a really decent job of making it hard to guess who the killer is. You know, 1 second you think you figured it all out, it has to be this person, but then it turns out it's fucking Colonel Mustard in the study with the nipple clamps. It does a good job of keeping you guessing. Even when you're 100% sure you know who it is, it throws a curveball at you. It's really just, it's a pleasant movie to see. In a very odd way, it's a cute movie. When the credits roll, you'll probably have a smile on your face. It kind of markets itself as more of a horror movie, which it absolutely is not. There's some weak-ass jump scares they tried to shoehorn in there. They don't work. The movie just does not work as a horror movie. It's this very, very kind of self-aware movie that it knows it's not doing anything special, but it's going to do it well. And it knows it's not special. It even makes a direct reference to Groundhog Day. And it's just a nice breath of fresh air. It's just, here's a movie that's not taking itself too seriously, and it's fun to watch. You know, the comedy bits weren't bad. The acting from almost all the characters was pretty good. Dialogue wasn't shitty. Everything just worked pretty fucking well. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie, other than I saw a ton of people going to see this tonight, Friday the 13th, because, you know, they think it's a horror movie. Let's go see something spooky for Friday the 13th. I have no doubt they're not getting what they're expecting. That's not a bad thing. I think they'll still be satisfied with it, but I want to make it very clear. I don't think this movie is anything super special, nor is it something you need to rush right out, throw on your best pair of shoes, and go see. But if you're just looking for a fun movie, an even kind of cute movie to see, cute's not the right word. I wouldn't exactly take your grandparents and your children there, but just a laid-back movie to see. I would definitely recommend this one. There's just not a whole lot to say. It's just pleasant. This isn't at all me saying there's nothing wrong with this movie. There's definitely a lot of flaws here. The biggest one being when you do find out who the killer is, a lot of things with the story kind of just don't add up. It kind of throws this monkey wrench in there where things just, the dots don't start connecting. You're connecting dots and you're just getting a big fucking dick on your piece of paper with the dots. And that's not that big a deal. Like, I even feel in the writing process, they notice that and they're like, Franklin, this doesn't work. Who gives a fuck? And, it's a good attitude to have with a movie like this. Who gives a fuck? They did everything decent enough. The flaws in this movie don't really hold it back from being the best it could be in what it tried to do. So let's go ahead and blow out these candles here and wish that I was about 3 inches taller. So I'm going to plug this into the moist meter now. It is a 65%. There's really nothing special about this movie, but it is a movie that's just kind of fun to see. You're not going to walk away from there like, holy shit, I just saw something big. You're going to walk away saying, you know what, I enjoyed that hour and a half. And yeah, I mean, that really is all there is to say about that movie. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to Moist Meter. Let's dive right in. I saw Alien Covenant. I've got a lot to say. I'm a huge fan of the Alien series, and even Prometheus, despite all of its shortcomings, there was a lot of problems with that movie. And I'm happy to say that Ridley Scott has taken all of that criticism from Prometheus and wiped his asshole with it. He has taken all of it, thrown it in the garbage, and said, fuck you. Every problem that existed in Prometheus exists in Alien Covenant. The main problem I have with this movie, and the same problem I had with Prometheus, the same problem everyone had with Prometheus, the scientists don't act like scientists. They're fucking stupid. They act like high school students going to a log cabin for a vacation. In the very first scene of this movie where they enter the foreign world, it's not the first scene, but in the beginning of the movie where they go into a foreign world, they don't even dress in spacesuits or anything. They're dressed like they're going on a weekend fishing trip. A strip club has a more strict dress code than what these scientists wore to a world they didn't even know. They didn't scan it or anything, they just assumed since it was like Earth, it'd be totally fine. On just an alien fucking planet, and it didn't even cross their mind to wear a helmet at least. And let me just say, this entire movie, everything that went wrong, could have been avoided if they had worn a helmet and nothing else. They could have worn a helmet and fucking swim trunks, and this movie wouldn't have happened. Because the main problem here is, one person gets their ear infected with the pathogen for the xenomorphs, and another person gets their nose infected with it. That could have been easily avoided with a helmet, something that should be pretty standard procedure for some advanced elite scientists, you know, something even a fucking 4th grader would think of. So the two people that get infected with the pathogen, you know, obviously they die and it leads to a lot of problems. They lose the escape vessel, all this type of shit. They meet David, you know, the same, it's just a whole cascade of bad shit that happens just because they couldn't put on a fucking helmet. Another thing that I think would be common sense for scientists is to not just touch everything mindlessly. These people literally can't stop touching shit. They touch everything. One of the people that gets infected with a pathogen touches this foreign fungus that just goes right up his nose, and then he just goes about his day like nothing's wrong. Another person touches a fucking giant testicle pod holding the face hugger, and then unsurprisingly gets attacked by the face hugger. Why do they have to touch everything? They're like fish attracted to the shiny lure, except these aren't even shiny or even that interesting. There's no reason to be touching half of this shit. They just touch the gnarliest and grossest looking shit with their bare fucking hands. I don't get it. It'd be like looking at dog shit on the side of the road, pulling your car over just so you could poke it. And I'm not gonna keep ranting about how stupid the characters are, but just know that is the entire reason this movie even happened, is because the scientists couldn't act like scientists or even anyone with common sense. They just acted like fucking zombies. It's hard to understand why Ridley Scott can't write some competent characters. But anyway, I will say that the story was interesting. I've always been a really big fan of the overarching plot. I find it to be a really fascinating concept. And this movie's major saving grace is Michael Fassbender. He is just absolutely spectacular. He plays 2 roles. He returns as David and also plays a new synthetic named Walter, and it's just, he does an absolutely outstanding job with both characters, and I truly believe David is probably one of my favorite movie antagonists of the last 10 years at least. I really just like him as a villain. I also, of course, really like the settings and the way everything looks in the movie. It all looks really breathtaking. The gore and shit's really convincing and disturbing. It's just, it's a Ridley Scott movie, you know, you get what you expect. You get gore, you get pretty settings, you get pretty looking shit. So I have no complaints in those departments, and I also thought the acting was really good. I thought all of the actors and actresses did an outstanding job playing their brainless vacuum cleaners. Now there's one scene in particular I want to point out, not in regards to good acting or anything, just a scene I think needs to be talked about, especially for me. I consider myself a recording connoisseur, a virtuoso of the recorder, and the recorder actually plays a role in this movie. It actually comes in and makes its fucking AAA big budget movie debut, which it deserves. It's just good to see it in the movie, And it's a really weird scene though. David's whittled a recorder out of wood, Walter finds it and wants to learn how to play it, so David starts to teach him, and it's this really oddly romantic scene, and it's kind of strange since it's both played by Fassbender. So it's just a strange thing there. And the scene went on for so long, it was like an actual full-length recorder lesson for the entire audience. I wanted to start taking notes so that way I could learn this shit when I got home for my recorder. But anyway, back to big points. The last 25-30 minutes of this movie are just great, and the ending is spectacular. A really, really solid ending that I think fans of the series will really appreciate. However, if you haven't seen any of the Alien movies before this, especially Prometheus, if you haven't seen Prometheus, you're going to be lost in this movie. It doesn't do a good job of bringing new viewers in. You have to be familiar with the story in order to really get the most out of this, otherwise it just doesn't really make too much sense. Now let's take all this shit into consideration and slap this bitch on the moist meter. This is about a 60% to me. The story is really just fascinating. I love the themes of creation, and I really like the way they weave all of that into the core idea ideas of the movie. However, it's just really hard to excuse some of the decisions the characters make and just suspend this disbelief that these scientists are this fucking stupid and that all of this could have been avoided if they just followed common sense. But putting all that aside, the movie is very pretty to look at times disturbing when characters are getting killed off, the gore is just very visceral. It's also just a really interesting story that I think even though you may not know what's going on if you haven't seen Prometheus, you'll still find yourself very interested in. And just overall, it has a lot to offer, it's intense, there's a lot of action, a lot going on, and then it leads to a great ending to the movie. So yeah, that's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Scary stories to tell in the dark. How fucking nostalgic. Just that sentence alone is enough to remind me of the old days of the Scholastic Book Fair, short spiky hair, and leather jackets guaranteeing you pussy. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a classic, much like Goosebumps. Scary Stories was actually, the creature design was enough to send shivers down my boners. The creature design in Scary Stories I thought was fantastic. The way it was described, the way that you picture it, the way it was illustrated, everything about it just screamed, holy shit, to a younger viewer. And that's exactly what this movie does. It's such a faithful adaptation, and it doesn't pull any punches when it shows you the disturbing creatures. It goes pretty fucking hard. And for a movie that's clearly aimed at a younger audience, because it's pretty obvious the main characters are younger, there's no blood, there's no bad words, and the source material was aimed at preteens and teenagers, it goes hard. Like, it really does. There's brutal murders, there's deaths, the first kill especially is pretty goddamn disturbing. All without a single fuck being said or any drops of blood being spilt. It reminds me a lot of something like Are You Afraid of the Dark or Courage the Cowardly Dog. Like, Courage has a whole bunch of horror elements thrown into it that are actually terrifying to a younger viewer like me, you know? Shit your pants scary, piss in your own mouth. It's horrifying stuff as a child, as a young viewer. This movie has that same sense where if you're younger, you're probably going to be pretty fucking creeped out by it. But even as you're older, while you might not be having nightmares about it or anything like that, or calling your mom at 2 a.m. scared, you can still appreciate it because it's still really fun and it does a great job. Just like Courage or Are You Afraid of the Dark? Now, to be honest, I don't know what kids find scary or anything these days. I'm not exactly going around during Halloween and trying to scare kids and getting disappointed when they're not afraid or anything. I don't know what's scary to them. I feel like kids growing up in this day and age probably won't find this very scary, to be honest, because if you just mistype something on Google, you might end up seeing like an ISIS beheading video. There's a lot more access to genuinely horrifying shit. And even on YouTube, you can find unintentionally horrifying family-friendly content. Spider-Man butt fucking Elsa's brains out in a bathroom. Things definitely can disturb kids by pure accident that they don't mean to, and it probably makes them not afraid of something like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I don't know. I'm just spitballing because I feel like with all that access, they probably aren't going to be that afraid of it. But from my perspective, as a younger person, I know I would definitely be afraid of it. 100%. And I enjoyed it as a 25-year-old man. I thought it did a great job, and there were some actually pretty creepy moments in here. Some gross out shit that I thought worked well, and I just really had a lot of fun with it. The characters were good. I really enjoyed most of the characters. I thought some of them were pretty underutilized, so when they did die or go missing, you didn't really feel much for them because you didn't really know them all that well. Like, shit, it was pretty easy to forget some of the names, to be honest. It's just, I feel I could have done more with some of the characters. And other than that, there's just nothing I can complain about. I really enjoyed it. The atmosphere that it built was great. The set design was great. And I really can't go hard enough on how much I enjoyed the creature design. Maybe it's just because I am familiar with the source material. So seeing that brought to life on the big screen was nice. But I don't know. I just really liked that. And I know there's a lot of CG moments in here that don't land. Like, especially in the bathroom scene in particular, a lot of the CG just kind of looks a little Jimmy Neutron-y, a little goofy. But I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be incredible or anything like that. I wasn't even expecting it to be good, but I walked away really liking this movie. So plugging Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark into the Moist Meter, I'm giving this bad boy a crisp 70. I liked it a lot, and I hope it does well, because I'd love to see more of the classics adapted like that. I thought it was a really good attempt, a good job, really well executed, and I had a lot of fun. Jackson, I wanted to change the score. I think 70's a little low because I really didn't have anything bad to say about it, but I don't know if 80's right either, but I really liked it, so I'm going 80. So just go ahead and take the 70 out and place this in there. Plugging this shit into the moist meter, I'm giving Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark an 80%. I think there's a lot to like about it. That's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. It's time for the scariest legend ever to be discussed on this episode. Slender Man. Yeah, you remember that thing from 7 years ago that used to be popular where there was hundreds of games getting pumped out of assholes daily on Steam? Yeah, you remember how that died out like 4 years ago? Well, it's back. And it's as bad as ever. The Slender Man movie is fucking horrendous. It's just not good. I don't know why they decided to release a Slender Man movie in 2018, and it hasn't been popular since 2011. If they had done this in 2011, even 2012, they could have got away with, it would have been a huge success. It still wouldn't have been a good movie, but it would have been a lot bigger, because I saw this opening day, obviously, and there was almost no one there. Unsurprisingly, because who gives a fuck about Slender Man anymore? Not even kids care about Slender Man, I doubt. You don't see any of those clickbait douche tubers making those clickbait videos titled, Don't FaceTime Slender Man at 3 a.m. I've never seen one of those, so they're not even clickbaiting Slender Man anymore, and yet they're going to release a big movie like this, and it's bad. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. So, it's just bad. Yeah, I mean, that basically says everything you need to say. A little fun piece of trivia, though. Joey King, who was the lead actress in Wish Upon, which was a horror movie that I put on the Moist Meter a couple years back, which has the second lowest score in the history of the Moist Meter, is in this movie as well. She's in this movie too. And this movie is gearing up to be just in that bottom shithole pool of Moist Meter scores as well, because it's not good either. And I'm not saying she's the reason these movies are bad. I don't think she's a bad actress. I think she's an alright actress. But man, she picks some fucking stinky shit shows of horror movies to star in. But anyway, I mean, it's as simple as it gets. You know, it's 4 girls. They were literally watching porn 1 second, and then they're like, let's summon Slender Man, because that's apparently like a fun pastime in that universe. So what they do is they type in Slender Man, go on the Slender Man wiki, and they find a link to a summon him YouTube video for Slender Man. So they watch the YouTube video on how to summon Slender Man, and lo and behold, Slender Man shows. You know, just like the Bloody Mary thing, you put a penny on your sink, you spin around 3 times, say Bloody Mary, and next thing you know, you got 5 fingers in your asshole. Happens in this movie. So you get Slender Man there, and he's systematically breaking the minds of the 4 girls and killing them, abducting them, and that's really about it. There's nothing of value here. There's nothing of substance. I don't know how often people sit around and watch porn together, but that was pretty jarring, I guess, as like a, you know, this is what people do these days kind of thing. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I don't watch porn with my friends, nor have I ever really gathered the group around to watch some porn together. But, you know, that's kind of a crucial plot point here, because it led to the Slender Man entering the world. It's just fucking bad. It's better than Wish Upon, though, because it at least tries to do some horror things with jump scares. The jump scares don't work at all. Nothing about this movie works. Slender Man's not scary. Everything he does isn't scary. It's just not good. It's fucking poopy. It's shitty stink shit. I mean, I just don't know how to get that point across anymore. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. They use the most generic stock horror sound effects. They use the most generic shots. The shittiest plot that, you know, let's just plug this shit into the Moist Meter. Slender Man gets a 15%. You'll notice that's higher than Wish Upon, because like I said, it at least tried to do horror shit, whereas Wish Upon just kind of, yeah, I guess it just kind of existed. I really have nothing to say about that. This is better than Wish Upon. That's the best compliment I can give Slender Man, and that should go on the back of its Blu-ray box. That's the best compliment this movie's gonna get. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
What the fuck is up? Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Bird Box, the hottest shit of 2018. 45 billion people all at once watched Bird Box, the biggest movie ever made in human history. I've heard a lot of mixed things about this. Some people love it, some people hate it. You know, some people say Bird Box, more like Turd Box, it fucking sucked. Others think it's the best movie ever made, so I went in here with really mixed expectations. I walk away from it pleased. I don't think it's like an incredible movie or anything, but it is a good movie. One of the main complaints that I saw from people is that they never reveal anything about the monsters. They never show them, and that for a lot of people leaves them blue-balled Me personally, I like when the horror movie, and I wouldn't really consider this a horror movie, but I like when the movie doesn't show the evil presence. Yeah, the human imagination, your own individual interpretation of the monster is going to be far scarier than anything they could put on the screen. So I definitely like that they didn't blow their load and show you some bad CGI Babadook looking motherfucker. It looks a lot better when there is nothing shown from the monster and leaves it mysterious and up to the viewer's interpretation. So the movie is about monsters that are invisible, that you can't see them, they're never shown, that when people see them, it compels them to kill themselves. And it's only ever hinted at how it does it, and I think that's exactly how they should have done it. The movie then focuses on Sandra Bullock and a crew of characters surviving in a post-apocalyptic world where everyone's killing themselves, and the people that haven't killed themselves are insane people that think that the monsters are an enlightened being. They're basically Rick and Morty fans, forcing everyone to open their eyes and watch Rick and Morty. And then it's just about survival and Sandra Bullock learning to become a mother and learning to love. And it's really not bad. It's clever with the devices it uses. Sandra Bullock uses fishing line to get around so she can find her way back by holding on to it, perpetually blindfolded because they cannot go outside and see because they'll get killed. It's a quiet place, but with seeing instead of hearing, although it's not quite as clever as A Quiet Place. However, this movie has a much better ending than A Quiet Place because, like I said in my moist meter, that one, I didn't really care for the ending of that movie. Fucking pumping the shotgun, and then it turns out the weakness of the monsters is the most obvious thing you would expect. That for some reason no one in the universe thought of. I'm not here to rant about The Quiet Place's ending. I just think since everyone's making that comparison, it's appropriate to talk about it and acknowledge that this one absolutely has a better ending. The whole movie, though, throughout is pretty good. It drags a lot in the middle. There's a lot of just dead space, in my opinion, that really just didn't need to be there. There's a lot of loose ends that were never tied up, and if you break it down, there's a lot of plot holes. For example, the guy, it has like a 5-year gap where you're watching something in the present, you go to the past, and in between is 5 years of nothing that's explained, and somehow the dude is still absolutely fucking massive, looking like a goddamn linebacker, despite them constantly struggling to find food and survive. A lot of other plot holes as well, but nothing I think is too bad. I fucking take that back. There's some birds in a box, as the title of the movie would indicate, and they play a pretty crucial role in the film, but these birds are fucking indestructible. They're made out of adamantium. These birds get everything shy of getting hit with a sledgehammer directly. They get fucking drowned. They get falled on thousands of times throughout the Sandra Bullock and her children's journey. They get stepped on, they get lost, covered in dirt, suffocated, and yet they're still alive at the end of the movie to go play with their bird friends. It's unreal. These are the strongest birds in existence. There really is a lot of plot holes, but that one's definitely the biggest one that most people be like, are you fucking kidding me? Now, most people are bringing up fan theories and shit. I'm not exactly going to toss my condom into the ring of fan theories about this movie because I don't like to dive into spoilers, but I'm just going to say, and this is a bit of a spoiler, I really don't subscribe to the idea that the monsters are a metaphor for social media. To explain, most people are saying that this movie is all about the dangers and evil of social media, how the monsters serve as the anonymity of people online, and then when you see the hostile social media in the movie, which is the demon, it makes you so sad you kill yourself. So it's speaking to how social media is making people kill themselves by making them very sad and being mean to them. I think that is the worst explanation for the metaphors in this movie, and if that is confirmed by the director, I will openly say this is the stupidest fucking movie I've ever seen in my whole life. That would make no sense in the movie, and I think that is really grasping at straws for clicks online, and I don't know why so many people think that that's applicable to this movie and an actual explanation for shit. There's for some reason this big movement that every movie is secretly about social media being evil. I don't really get it. A lot of the themes in this movie are about people being disconnected from people. Well, not exactly. The main character being disconnected from other people. And then they use that to stretch it to social media, making you disconnected from other people. It's such a goddamn reach, and I really don't like that theory. So if you believe that theory, I think it's a shit theory. But you're welcome to think that it works for the movie if you'd like. Overall, though, not a bad movie. A lot of dull pacing, and like I said, a lot of plot holes and shit. But overall, it's enjoyable. It's not really scary at any points. I mean, at certain points it gets a little tense, I'd say, but it's not an amazing thriller or anything like that. Let's plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm gonna give Bird Box a 70%. I always enjoy when a movie does try to be different and it's smart with its gimmick. The gimmick here being you can't go outside and see. And I think they did it pretty well for the most part when they did venture outside, how they combat the universe they're in. Overall, I thought it was clever, but dragged and didn't always be clever. There was a lot of dumb shit that happened as well. Probably worth seeing though. Doesn't live up to all the hype, but not a bad movie. That's it. See ya.
This episode is brought to you by the fine folks at Dollar Shave Club.
Initiating moisture.
Modern horror movies are akin to a pile of dog shit. In my opinion, they're the most lazy, formulaic, and boring movies that get made, and they're only made as cash grabs so high schoolers can bring their girlfriend there and they can both go, ah, at the jump scare fest. That's not to say there haven't been great horror movies made, though, in the last couple of years. However, Hereditary is the best one, by far. If horror movies were a dick measuring contest, then Hereditary has the penis size of 3 semi-trucks lined up end to end. This movie is so far above any other horror movie I've seen in at least the last decade, it's unreal. I don't even want to touch on the story of this movie because I feel like even talking about what it's about will spoil some of the actual content of the movie. But I'm going to say this movie has the most amazing story I've ever seen in a horror movie right up until the last 10 minutes of the movie. The last 10 minutes of the movie really just drop trouser and take a hard shit on everything that was built up to that point. I really was upset with how they finished off the movie, but everything up to it was nothing shy of a horror masterpiece. The story is a very unnerving one, and it's going to show you a lot of things that are uncomfortable to look at, which get taken to the next level by the performances of the actors here. Absolutely amazing acting in this movie, and that's not something I particularly care about. I don't really pay a lot of attention to it. I'm not grading by, oh, he didn't raise his eyebrows when he was supposed to be super surprised. This is horrible acting. 10 points off, and I'm never seeing this movie again. Boycott this movie because I didn't like his micro-facial expressions. That's not something I care about, but when the acting is this good, it's something I think everyone notices, because it really made the characters alive. It made it seem like you were watching a real family go insane and have all types of incredibly disturbing shit happen to them. It was jaw-dropping. I've never seen acting like this in a movie, and especially not a fucking horror movie where everyone's just a cardboard cutout of the most boring two-dimensional character imaginable. This was amazing. Everyone fucking killed it in their role in this movie. The next part that makes this movie so great is they don't have this over-reliance on jump scares like every other mainstream horror movie does. There are a couple of jump scares here, but they're used sparingly and appropriately, and they're not the main scare. The scariest thing about this movie, the scariest things you experience here is the psychological shit of what the family's going through, and you feel like they're actually going through it because of the performances, and some of the shit you see. Some of the things are just disgusting to look at parts. And that's exactly how horror should be. It shouldn't be like a, did I scare the shit out of you? You know, that's not scary. That's, oh, okay, you made a loud noise. Obviously, it's going to startle me a little bit, but at the end of the day, that's just goofy and dumb. Here, it actually uses real, scary shit, which I can always appreciate. Up until the end. Like I said, the last 10 minutes, take everything it did right, and then just kind of throw it into a toilet and ejaculate on it. But up until that last 10 minutes, everything here was unique, scary, disturbing, and just incredibly enjoyable to watch. Now I feel like I should absolutely mention the last 10 minutes and why I take issue with it. Well, up until the last 10 minutes of this movie, everything has you guessing as to why things are happening, and it also is using a lot of unique approaches to not startle you, but to unnerve you. Whereas the last 10 minutes take every generic horror movie scene and combine them into one montage, like a 2008 YouTube era montage of generic horror movie shit. And it didn't land well at all. It was just kind of pathetic, in my opinion. And the explanation for why everything was happening was also kind of shit. They hinted at it building up to that, but I was hoping it wouldn't be as in your face and just downright silly to listen to when they explain it. Nor do I think they should have explained it right to your face like that. It took away a lot as well. But when I say it doesn't land well, the audience was laughing at some of the shit because they'd seen it all before. So when you see, for example, a scary thing looming in the background and just kind of floating away, I mean, it's nothing like, yikes, that's scary, that's new, I've never seen that, that's really startling. And disturbing. It's not, because everyone's used to that. That's a generic horror movie shit. That had no place in this movie, because they hadn't done that at all in this entire movie right up until the end, and it just ruins a lot of it. It really does, and it's really sad, because this was a horror masterpiece. I think it still is, if you can disregard the last 10 minutes and just go ahead and put that as like a spin-off, like a side story that got roped in here. Like, you know how in a Pixar movie they do a little short at the beginning? Well, Hereditary did that at the end. The movie ended 10 minutes before the short plays. That's how I'm going to look at it, because it's just a goddamn shame. It really is. And that really honestly is my only complaint about Hereditary. Everything else is honestly just amazing. The sound is great. Everything feels like it's happening and sounds like it's happening. The movie's shot in a really unique way. It has some really cool transitions. It has some really great framing. And that's not something I ever touch on, because I don't think too many people care. If the framing and the shots are shitty, you'll notice, and that's a bad thing. But if they're done right, you should never even consider it. But it is something I occasionally pay attention to, and in this movie, it's hard not to notice how well executed it is. Now let's just go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Hereditary an 85, and it hurts me to give it an 85 because I think it should be more. But like I said, those last 10 or so minutes are just, they're stinky. And more likely than not, if you see this in theaters, people are going to laugh during that part. I was too, because it is just goofy, and I don't know why they did that. I really don't. I'm guessing they were just running out of time or just didn't care anymore. Fuck if I know. I'm not going to try and understand what they decided for the last 10 minutes. Maybe they just handed it off to the director's fourth grader. I really have no other explanation. But everything except for the last 10 minutes is a horror masterpiece that I think anyone who enjoys a horror movie will fucking love. Hereditary is absolutely fantastic. Almost as fantastic as Dollar Shave Club. A lot of you know Dollar Shave Club sponsors the official podcast, and they were demanding more. They needed more. So Jackson and I said they're welcome to come on the Moist Meter for Hereditary. So Jackson, take the stage, take it away.
Head of Moisture Relations Jackson here with some exciting news. If Moist Meter is known for one thing, it's that we quickly deliver effective and top-of-the-line moisture readings on all the things you love straight to your door. This is where our similarities with Dollar Shave Club lie, as they're also known for delivering the highest quality tools to keep you looking moist to everyone else, straight to your door for a very reasonable price. DSC is sponsoring this episode and letting us continue to spread the good word of moisture, and all we need to do is tell you about the $5 Daily Essentials Starter Kit. This is a kit full of stuff you need to look and feel your best: shave butter, body wash, butt wipes, and of course those delicious razors and handles that the club is known for. Both Charlie and I, and all of Moist Meter HQ, use Dollar Shave Club to keep up our public appearances, and we couldn't swear any harder about them if we tried. Now you too can join the club by visiting dollarshaveclub.com/wet and receive the Daily Essential Starter Kit for only $5. That's dollarshaveclub.com/wet.
Initiating moisture protocol.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. I just saw A Quiet Place. It's fucking spectacular. I just want to get right into this. Mainstream horror movies have sucked asshole for the last decade. Non-debatable. The horror movies have been so copy and pasted, so cookie cutter, just this overused fleshlight that's just been pounded by director after director, leaving you with the same shit every single time, the same load, basically. It's just so boring to see a mainstream horror movie these days for the most part. A few exceptions here and there, but overall, horror movies are awful. A Quiet Place, however, is a nice queef of fresh air. It's an interesting premise that's executed. They've put sand all over the fucking place, and they walk barefoot, so when you walk over the sand, you don't make as much noise. They play board games using fabric instead of the pieces. They eat off leaves instead of plates. Everything they do is really smart, really well done, and I just loved seeing that. It was such a unique world to watch, and it was always super fun to see what kind of measures they had in place for things going wrong, or how they dealt with getting food, or all kinds of different shit. And it was really, even I was able to recognize how incredible these performances were. So that speaks volumes to how well they did. The movie, I will say, a complaint that I do have that I think is a reasonable one is the weakness of the monsters. It's really obvious. I don't think it's going to catch anyone by surprise what their weakness is. And just really, I feel like that would have been the first little bit better. But that being said, it's still fun to watch them exploit that weakness towards the end of the movie when they discover it. Another minor complaint I have is I think the monster just looks kind of fucking goofy. It looks like Slender last decade, hands down. Absolutely no fucking contest. So let's plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving this a 90%. This is a really great thriller, a really good horror movie. It's just a nice breath of fresh air. It's just super fucking great. It really is worth seeing if you like horror movies or thrillers, whatever. It's just a fucking great movie. It's a short movie. It doesn't overstay its welcome. And it does a great job of conveying a story without using a whole lot of words. You really understand the characters, even though there's very little dialogue in this movie. Such a great fucking movie. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter, where the thing we fear most is dryness. Today, we have the It movie to review and measure the moisture content of. So, I'm going to get this out of the way right now. I'm not a big fan of Stephen King. I think he's overrated. I think Genghis Swan is the superior writer and visionary. That being said, the new It movie, it was the shit. It was really good. It really took me by surprise. I was expecting it to be decent, but this was actually good. So I'm going to start by undressing this lady and playing with her nipples. The things I liked here, I'm going to get them all out of the way, all on a nice list. The story. The story was fucking fantastic. It actually made the horror movie trope that's just been beat to death and overused like a fleshlight at a frat party make sense, where the bad thing is just scaring people for the sake of scaring people with no real reason. Well, in this movie, the scaring of the main characters makes sense because they have to be afraid in order for them to be vulnerable for the bad thing to kill them. Now, when I say killed, I mean fucking annihilated, and it shows every single detail in there. And the main characters are kids, so you don't expect them to get all bloodied up and gory like they just got hit by a fucking Mortal Kombat fatality. But this movie shows you all of that. It doesn't shy away. It doesn't pull any punches. It shows you them getting brutalized by the bad guys here. And I'm not saying like I want to see kids getting all fucked up like they just stepped on an IED or ate a pipe bomb. But for this movie, it really adds a whole lot to the overall experience because you know the characters aren't safe. At any moment, you could see some fucked up shit happen to them. And I think that adds a lot to the overall horror aspect of this movie, the scariness, the creepiness, shit like that. That's the next thing I want to talk about. This movie doesn't follow the same formulaic pattern as most horror movies these days. Most horror movies are so cookie cutter you can predict every single thing. This movie you can't. It tried to do a lot of different things and it did it pretty well. There were some genuinely creepy moments. It did have quite a bit of jump scares, but I thought they were used pretty well. Not, the usual shit where just super loud noises like a fucking umbrella opening at the camera and you feel silly for being startled by it. Albeit there were a couple of goofy ones in there that made me roll my eyes. But I liked mostly what they did for creepy and scariness things. But I didn't like all of it. I thought a lot of it fell very flat. For example, they had a little zombie bad guy in there, and he was just kind of goofy and felt a little out of place. And then, per usual, it unfortunately fell into the same trap as most horror movies, where at the very end, where they're confronting the main bad thing, it goes on so long, it just stops being a scary bad thing. It's at its best when it's building the suspense up to the scary bad thing that you only get little glimpses of here and there, or only for a short period of time. When you have a long, drawn-out battle and dialogue between the characters and the bad thing, it takes away from the bad thing as a whole. It makes it a whole lot less scary. Albeit the characters had some great lines there, it just takes away from it being scary and just kind of turns into more of like an action movie struggle type deal. But, I mean, everything else leading up to that was just great. They did everything else great, and, I don't know how else they would have ended it other than that. That's more of just a personal pet peeve of mine, where you have this frightening being that you've hyped up all movie. Oh, I'll eat your nose, I'll blow your bros, just something super scary, and then at the end, you have this showdown where it's just a conversation between the two of them, like a fucking student talking to a teacher after class about extra credit. Really just kind of takes away from it being that super scary thing. The writing was fantastic, characters were fucking great. All of them, really. All of them were super well written. You start to like every single character for the most part. There's some weaker characters here and there, but the main cast is super great. Pennywise the Clown fucking nailed it. Bill Skarsgård or Asgard or fucking Thor Valhalla, whatever his last name is. Bill, you did a great job with Pennywise. If you're watching this, Bill, you fucking killed it in that role. And you're welcome to come on the official podcast. Soundtrack was pretty good. It's nothing super memorable, but I don't really always care too much about soundtrack. If it stands out to me, that's a huge plus, but if I don't really care too much about it, if it's just kind of in the background of everything, who cares? I don't go there for the soundtrack. It's not like I'm listening there looking for boner jams or anything. If it fits the movie, I'm happy. It didn't stand out to me as bad, so that's good. Let's go ahead and flush this down the moist meeting toilet. It's an 80%. I go into horror movies with the lowest possible expectations, usually thinking I'm just going to laugh during the movies, but this movie really stood out to me. It was an actual good horror movie. It's not perfect. characters still do stupid shit like in every other horror movie. But in terms of horror movies, where all of them are just pretty much ass balls of movies, just absolute urethral swabs to watch, this one was enjoyable from start to finish. And that has to say something. It was good. It was actually creepy, unlike a lot of horror movies. It didn't rely on the crutch of jump scares. It would show you some scary things. And it's just everything it tried to do, it did pretty damn well. And I definitely think it's worth seeing. So that's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today, let's take a look at my butthole and then also talk about Hellfest. Hellfest is a new movie that came out today about, well, you know, Hellfest, which is Halloween Horror Nights on the big screen, basically. It's just those haunted houses at theme parks. That's the whole movie. I actually think the setting's pretty interesting. As Halloween rolls closer, I decided, you know what, let's make this a spooky episode of the Moist Meter. Gonna do this in reverse. I'm giving Hellfest a 40% on the Moist Meter. That's right. I just fucking whipped out my dick, flopped out on your chin, and gave you the Moist Meter rating right in the beginning of the video. You can turn it off now if you're satisfied with knowing what my score is, but do you want justification? I don't think you really give a shit. You probably don't even know what Hellfest is. There wasn't a lot of marketing budget behind this bad boy. But I was surprised. I expected this movie to be a pile of dog shit, and while it wasn't anything great, it was a pretty competent slasher movie. The characters were annoying, but one of the characters played a really good awkward guy, so I respected the shit out of that. He actually seemed like a super awkward guy that they hired for this. But he's a good looking dude, so I'm sure he's not that socially inept in the real world. He could probably blow a fucking raspberry and get pussy as a result of it, but he played a great awkward character. So at Hellfest, the Halloween Horror Nights here, there's a man who goes around killing people, and no one believes it. And I thought that was really cool because I was able to relate to that. Not that I've gone around killing people at a Halloween Horror Nights, but as far as throwaway shitty horror movies go, I think this one's probably one of the better ones they've come out with, just because I like the premise and I think it's executed well. The slasher, the main bad guy, he's kind of cool, kind of creepy, and then there's some decent little jump scares in there, I suppose. So, I mean, overall, it's a competently done slasher movie with a lot of shit that holds it back. Obviously being just very clearly a throwaway kind of movie. They didn't expect much out of it, and they're not going to get much out of it. But if you want to just go see something kind of mind-numbingly fun, I think this is probably a pretty decent one to check out. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Ready or Not, a new dark comedy, thriller, horror, I don't know, fucking genre tags don't really mean much of dick anymore these days. It's a movie about a woman marrying into an extremely wealthy family that has a fucked up tradition where they perform a ritual, and it ends with them playing a game of hide and seek where the family tries to find and kill her to complete the ritual, or else the family believes they'll die from a curse. Not all too dissimilar from Holes, with the Yelnats family believing they're cursed because their great-great-grandfather didn't carry that woman up the hill to drink from water and pee or something, and now they're cursed to make shoes that smell like shit with bad luck. I don't remember exactly the plot to Holes, it's been quite a while since I've seen it, but that's the idea. They don't kill this woman, their family will be cursed and killed. And it stars Margot Robbie as the lead, or so I thought until the credits rolled and learned that she's actually named Samara Weaving and just happens to be the doppelganger of Margot Robbie. She's extremely talented and does a great job in her role. She's really fucking good, actually. But man, I was extremely blown away when I learned that's not fucking Margot Robbie, because it's like 1-to-1. It's like a cloning project. It's absolutely wild how similar they look, at least in my opinion, and when you watch them on screen. But anyway, I think the movie overall is a good movie. I think it does a lot of things well. I think a couple of things that it doesn't do well are things I can't really talk about because it's more of like a narrative point as well as some of the character-driven stuff that I don't think works, so it'd spoil a little bit of that for you. But overall, it's a really fun movie. I think it's at its best when it's executing dark humor, which is a huge part of this. The movie focuses a lot on adding humor to really tense situations and fucked up scenes, and it works really well for the most part. Almost all the jokes land. Sometimes a shtick or two is overplayed and overstays its welcome, but it's very nice to break up some of the tension that it builds, and it builds tension decently enough. I think sometimes it works much better than others. Some of them are just kind of cliche and goofy, whereas others are actually kind of creative with a clear vision behind it, and it does well. I don't think at any point it ever gets you on the edge of your seat, about to fucking lactate and shit your pants or something, but it's enough to keep you constantly interested in rooting for the main character. And she goes through some shit. The movie shows you some brutal kills, shows you some really disturbing portions that she has to go through to try and escape and not get murdered by a crew of Satanists. There's a lot that she goes through, and she does a great job of really portraying the terror. And then by the end of it, I think it does a super great job of showing you just who she's become, and she becomes like a super cool character, fucking badass, and it's just a really fun, and it makes it very clear that the movie is in on its silliness. It's very self-aware. Even when it's not making jokes, it understands exactly what kind of movie it is and what it's trying to be, and it does a really good job. I don't have anything overly negative to say except for things that are in spoiler territory. Other than that, I just think it's a good movie. I don't think it's great or anything like that, but it is a movie probably worth seeing. If you're going for a horror movie, you're not really going to find it here unless tension scares you or very large houses scare you or butlers and shit are terrifying. If you have a phobia of any of those, maybe you'll be scared. But overall, I think it's just a fun movie that'll make you laugh and also make you, a bit on edge, maybe make your hair on the nutsack stand up a little bit. Just an enjoyable time. Plugging Ready or Not into the Moist Meter, I'm giving Ready or Not a crisp 70%. I would like to go more into why it's not higher, but it would be getting into spoiler territory, and I'm trying my best not to do that unless it's a movie no one gives a shit about. And this is a movie I think people will care about and should care about because it's a good one. That's about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
I hope you're clenching your ass cheeks together as hard as you can so you don't let the demons go up your asshole. Because today on the Moist Meter, we've got a horror movie for you called Annabelle Creation. Well, I mean, we don't have it for you. We didn't make the fucking movie, but we saw the movie. So it's, scared and shit, so I have no complaints about the acting. The sound design, your standard horror movie shit. It's basically just horror movie. So let's go ahead and pop this into the Moist Meter. I'm clocking this at a 60%. The movie is good, and for horror movie fans, definitely worth seeing, but you're going to know what to expect every step of the way. It just doesn't try and do too many things different. The only thing it really plays with is different scare setups and different scare scenes. But I mean, you still have the dumb character creation does what you'd expect and does it pretty well. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at the newest Conjuring movie, Annabelle Comes Home. Now, I didn't know this, but I just looked it up. Warner Bros. Was locked in a $900 million lawsuit with the person who originally wrote the stories that The Conjuring is based off of, and the only way Warner Bros. Was going to avoid paying $900 million to this guy for copyright shit was if they proved ghosts were real. And I didn't realize this, but they wrapped it up in 2017 at the end of it, and I had no fucking idea because I was waiting for this like super team power up like Marvel Avengers Endgame style where they bring in Zack from Ghost Adventures, Zack Big Dick, the demonology guy with Ghost Adventures, and bring them all together to prove ghosts were real so they didn't have to pay nearly $1 billion. But it turns out they ended up settling out of court, which is the most underwhelming conclusion to a $900 million lawsuit where ghosts being proven real was on the line. It's just so fucking upsetting that I was really disappointed. This entire segment here is unrelated to Annabelle Comes Home because the movie doesn't talk about it, unfortunately. But I just thought that was so interesting because that lawsuit, I was really looking forward to seeing how they tackled the ghost thing, but they ended up not doing it. They didn't bring in Dib from Invader Zim or anything. They just settled it out of court, which is super fucking boring. That should be a crime in and of itself. Anyway, Annabelle Comes Home. It's not bad. I don't think there's really any bad movies in the Conjuring franchise except for The Nun. The Nun was just so fucking boring, but this isn't. This movie's good. I think the Conjuring movies are always just fun for the time you're watching them. Nothing special about them, nothing wildly creative, but executed decently enough. The characters in this movie I actually really liked. I thought Bob was a really strong character, Daniela as well. I thought the characters, because it wasn't focused on just like the main two Warrens, I actually thought the characters they had in here were really fun to watch with a good dynamic. And I also like the story where Daniela goes into the Warrens' house while the littlest girl is being babysat by her friend, and she starts touching shit and releasing all types of spirits, and then they have to battle all types of different spirits. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode in a certain sense, and it's fun. I like that plot line. But it's just so silly and nonsensical with these horror movies when you start to break them down, because at every step it seems like the demons and evil spirits want you to succeed. For example, in this movie, they're trying to get the Annabelle doll back in the case, and literally the entire movie is the demons leading them to the Annabelle doll and letting them take the Annabelle doll multiple times. For example, Mary Ellen, one of the main characters, comes face to face with a demon or with an evil spirit that's killed a bunch of people and wants to kill her, and she just gets the Annabelle doll from it and walks away. They just let that shit happen. They're much more invested in making loud noises occasionally than actually stopping them from being sealed again. I just don't really get that in horror movies. The Conjuring does this shit all the time. They have so many opportunities to just stop them or kill the people, and they just let them go. In this movie, it's just insane how many times that happens. A fucking demon comes face to face with the little girl and then just lets her leave. Literally, like, chokeholds her and then just lets her leave. It's just silly. It's just really dumb. I don't know why the demons are actively trying to get fucked. I don't really understand. They're not really there to preserve themselves. They're just there to make loud noises when it's quiet. And that's what this movie relies on, much like all the other Conjuring movies. It's not great at building tension, but it does try. There's also a really goofy samurai armor spirit, which is just really dumb. It's just more comical than scary. But again, the main focus is on jump scares, so when it gets quiet, something will fall over, make a loud noise, and you go, but even that's not super effective in this movie. They don't do it overly well. The guy next to me fell asleep like 2 or 3 times and was snoring, which was super fucking disruptive, and I hate that kind of behavior. If you're that goddamn tired, just leave. But I mean, it still illustrates that it wasn't great with its horror if you couldn't even keep the old man next to me from falling asleep and choking on his own spit. It wasn't a bad movie, though. Like I said, I did enjoy it, and I didn't regret my time with it. I do think when it did try and build tension, it didn't land most of the time, but when it did, I was satisfied with it. I also really like all of the different spirits and all of the different conduits for evil that were in there. I like that aspect. I thought that was well done. And yeah, it wasn't a horrible movie. It wasn't great. Just a pretty standard average horror movie for the modern age. Plugging this shit into the moist meter, I'm giving Annabelle Comes Home a crisp 50%. Beautifully average. Nothing great about it, nothing awful about it, nothing to really regret when seeing it. Kind of fun. That's about it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
There aren't enough words in the human languages to accurately convey just how surprised I am that this Solo, a Star Wars movie, turned out to be as good as it is. I was incredibly ready to just write this movie off. I was fully expecting to just be a fucking urethral swab of a movie experience. I expected this to be horrible, and it was so far from that. I'd like to quickly touch on one of my biggest moist meter regrets. It was the Star Wars Last Jedi review I did. I gave that too high of a score, 100%, and I fully apologize. I just kind of was wrapped up in the hype of it. Seeing movies when they open is always a more fun experience, and it makes the movies better than they are. That movie did not deserve the score I gave it. It should have been much lower than a 70. I just didn't like it. I rewatched it recently. It's just not a good movie in my opinion. So Disney has shown to me that they can't really make a good Star Wars movie, in my opinion, until this movie. Solo is spectacular, and it had so much bad shit going on with the production of this movie that I don't know how they could make it as good as they did here. There's definitely some shortcomings, and I'll touch on those real quick right now. The biggest misstep with this movie, or biggest complaint I would have about this, is there's really just not a whole lot of depth to Han Solo. They don't really develop his character. There's really just no character development at all in this movie with pretty much any of the characters. There's a couple where there is some development, but not that much, nothing like super crazy. All in all, this movie just strived to be a fun adventure movie showing you Han Solo and beloved characters doing some cool shit with very few hard Star Wars tie-ins. They're not like jerking your dick off with Star Wars cameos and tie-ins, but they are here, but that wasn't the focal point. The focal point was making a fun, standalone movie with an enjoyable plot that wasn't convoluted or thrown in with a lot of unnecessary, useless plot ploys that are just lazy writing. It was just really enjoyable. Visually, I think it's the best Star Wars movie I've seen. The settings were great. The visuals were great. The sound was super fucking spectacular. The character designs. The character designs are the best in the entire franchise. I saw a lot of new aliens here I've never seen before, and they looked fucking cool. You'd have aliens that looked like 5 titties stacked on top of each other with a Rubik's Cube in the middle. There was some really cool looking alien species in here. And really just all of the shit in here was cool looking. They had like a space yacht that was really good, really good to look at. I mean, I have so few complaints about this, and I can't believe that. Because this is a movie I think almost everyone rolled their eyes at. Oh, here's Disney milking Star Wars. And by all means, they absolutely are by making this movie. But goddamn, the attempts at humor in this movie were fucking awful as well. Just insufferable attempts to make you laugh that I don't think anyone will laugh at least the theater I went to, no one did. The half-full theater for a Star Wars release, which is the first time I've ever seen that happen. So, The Last Jedi succeeded in one area, which is making everyone hate Disney Star Wars movies for good reason. But this is definitely their best one. Another bad thing about this movie is the characters. They also go with the same tired-out theme of rebellion with youngsters. It's just... that's just so played out and just, you know, just something you got to roll your eyes at because you expect it, you get it, and it's kind of just underwhelming when you do. And the droid L337, elite gamer speak, elite nerds. Does anyone else nerd in the early 2000s? Elite. The worst character in the Star Wars franchise, beating Jar Jar Binks by a fucking mile. That's just a really bad character. No matter how you look at it, L337 is a horrible fucking character. I don't know how anyone could defend it. The droid was just awful droid. Really just not fun to watch on the screen. They really milked some beautiful premium nectar from this bitch here. They absolutely nailed this movie. It's the best Disney Star Wars they've made so far. Which is incredible because, like I said, they've had a lot of production problems here. I don't know how they managed to squeak this one out of their assholes, but they did. It's a very clean, non-stinky product. Someone that was working on this must have gathered all the Dragon Balls and made a wish. Hey, look, Shinron, I've got this real shit heap of a movie. Can we go ahead and turn this dumpster fire into something spectacular? Shinron said, no, he doesn't have that kind of power, but we can turn it into something pretty goddamn good. And they did. This is pretty goddamn good. It's nothing that you're going to have to go out and see, but if you're a Star Wars fan, I think you absolutely should see this, because it's the best Disney one so far. It's really fucking good. I have so few complaints about it, but there is some nitpicky things that I could pick apart, but it'd be spoilers. You really do have to suspend your disbelief in a lot of these parts, because apparently everyone understands how to fly every ship ever made, and everyone is so incredibly tech savvy that they can fix anything and understand every order given in a ship they've never seen before. So there's a lot of shit you have to just be like, okay, you know what, that's fine, I'll just let that slide. There's also a lot of people complaining that they didn't really stay true to the Han Solo character. They missed a lot of why he was such a big character and an important one and why everyone liked him. And I can agree to a certain extent, but Alden nailed it. That was the best casting choice for this they could have made. He did capture Han Solo as well as anyone possibly could. And you already knew Donald Glover was going to nail it because he shits out perfection these days. He's just great. Let's go ahead and plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm going to give it an 80%. It really is the best Disney Star Wars. It is really good. It's very entertaining. But keep in mind, it is just an adventure movie at the end of the day. They don't really try and make some huge impact on the Star Wars universe or really add a whole lot to Star Wars. They just very clearly wanted to make a fun adventure movie with some beloved characters and have a self-contained story that was not affected too much by anything in any other Star Wars or really have that much of an effect on anything Star Wars related, except for obviously Han Solo and Chewbacca and Lando. But it is a very, very fun movie to watch. It is really just so goddamn surprising how good this movie is. Most people are writing it off, rightfully so. I did as well. But I think it is worth seeing. It's a good movie. So yeah.
This episode of the Moist Meter was brought to you by Honey.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at the new Halloween movie. As it gets closer to Halloween, we've been blessed with some extremely scary content from the internet from shitty YouTubers left and right, but now we get graced by some Hollywood horror, by a little soft reboot of the beloved Halloween franchise. I went into this not expecting much, but I'm a huge fan of slasher films, and I was pleasantly surprised by how great of a slasher this movie is. It's a lot of fucking fun. And one thing I want to say right away, John Carpenter, who did the score for this, absolutely fucking killed it. It's got the iconic Halloween soundtrack, and it's got a lot of other great shit here. It's fucking great. The score of this is fucking great. Carpenter annihilated it. Got me hard as a fucking rock. The movie, overall, is just really good. Really fucking well done. Michael Myers is as terrifying as ever. He's just like a fucking Frankenstein's monster. You can't move past like one speed, which is a menacing walk. He moves slow as a motherfucker, just moves around like an extremely drunk man trying to pass a field sobriety test in front of a police officer, but not doing a great job of holding it together. But somehow it always works for Michael Myers because he's always positioned perfectly to not be seen and be able to strike optimally. So the man's fucking omniscient. And it's really fucking cool to watch unfold. There's a lot of kills in this movie, a lot of creative kills. He doesn't take anything except a life, but he'll go into a house and just stab someone and leave. He does like trick-or-treating, but with souls. It's cool. Absolutely cool, but it is really just, kills for the sake of kills. It doesn't really do much to further Michael Myers. You're already afraid of the guy as like a being Curtis, and then Michael Myers, who God knows what the fuck goes on and what his motivation is. And Jamie Lee Curtis is this paranoid survivor of his, and she has one purpose in life, which is to kill him. So she's raised her daughter to be just like an assassin as well, and her daughter resents her for it. All of the characters in here are fucking great in my opinion. The only character that I'm not 100% go team on was Karen, who was the daughter of Jamie Lee Curtis. I thought she was just kind of a boring character who didn't really bring much to the table. It seemed like kind of a phoned in performance. She had one cool scene where she fires one bullet, and that's about it. But other than that, she doesn't really contribute much, and she doesn't really seem to give much of a shit about the whole situation. But overall, the movie is really well done. It really is. There's some really fucking cool scenes here, very well shot. The framing on some of them is something I took big notice on because I really liked how you'd have to guess where Michael Myers was in the vicinity because you knew he's not going to be like fucking hiding under the bed or something because the man can only stand up straight like a fucking corpse that's somehow standing up straight. So you're always guessing where the fuck is he standing, what is he doing? But there are a few complaints I have about this movie, and they mainly revolve around horror cliches, which is stupid characters. Jamie Lee Curtis, for the most part, is a very smart, competent character making smart decisions. But until the end of the movie, then she makes the stupidest fucking decisions I've seen in a while. So, not to spoil anything, but she's like a doomsday prepper, prepping for the Michael Myers nuke that she believes will her daughter. Also, when she's hunting Michael Myers in the house, she has a weapon, a good weapon, and then she's looking around for him, and she has good ideas of where he is. Like, she'll find a closet with, like, blood on it because he was bleeding. Like, that's some goofy shit, and there's some goofy scenes here and there, but overall, it really is a competent slasher. So let's plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving the new Halloween an 80%. The movie's fucking good. It's not a masterpiece of slasher cinema or anything like that, but it's really well done, and in an age of modern reboots of beloved franchises that completely shit on the franchise, this one's pretty goddamn faithful, and it does a great job of bringing Michael Myers back to the forefront of horror slashing shit. So it's fucking good. It's definitely worth seeing. Just like Honey is definitely worth checking out. Take it away, Jackson.
Hey guys, Spook Safety Inspector Jackson here from Moist HQ, here to tell you about how you can stay safe this Halloween. Our thorough research has concluded that 99% of demons only want one thing, and that's for you to use Honey to save big bucks at online stores. So why don't you download that money-saving miracle right now to keep those spooksters happy? With Honey, you save money at nearly every online website, and it does this by relentlessly trying every known coupon code at checkout to give you the best deals. The best thing about it? It's absolutely free. Every individual here at Moist HQ can attest to its money-saving potential. It works at all the places we've tried, but some great examples are Amazon, Best Buy, and GameStop. The money saved with Honey adds up, so get on it today. So to stay protected from the gremlins of the dark and the Freddys and Jasons of Scaryville, be sure to go to joinhoney.com/moist. That's joinhoney.com/moist to save your soul by getting Honey for free. And remember, at the end of the day, Jamie Lee Curtis didn't need an underground bunker to stop Michael Myers. She just needed Honey.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Searching. I went into this movie with no expectations. It's not that the trailers made me think it was going to be a bad movie or anything. It's just incredibly generic. It had Sundance on it, which basically every movie made now has Sundance on it. It doesn't mean anything. It's not like a stamp of quality or anything. Every movie and its grandmother's tits have Sundance plastered on it, so that didn't impress me or anything. And it also used the gimmick of this is all from the perspective of a computer. And I hate that kind of shit. It's just, oh, here's a gimmick thing. Oh, this movie's filmed from the perspective of a toothbrush that happened to be near the scene of the whole entire movie. I mean, that's cool, but that doesn't really add much. And also, this movie is in a very overdone genre with a very overdone concept, a missing teenager. All this being said, I didn't have a lot of expectations. And this movie fucking blew me away. I think this is the best the thriller mystery genre gets. This is the smartest movie I've ever watched. It is so well written, and they are able to convey so much emotion in such a powerful story through just using words on the computer screen and searches on the computer screen, scrolling through photos and occasional FaceTimes. Jackson, I forgot to mention this, but this is probably an important point to put somewhere in the beginning. In the beginning, the gimmick of the computer seems pretty cringy, and it seems like the director's out of touch with how internet culture works and how it all kind of functions, but as the movie progresses, they're really able to capture exactly how 2018 internet would react to a story like the one in this movie. If what happened in this movie happened in the real world, the reaction would be very similar to the reaction you're going to see in this movie. It's incredible how realistic he was able to make this. The director did a fucking great job of actually making it a believable reaction to the story, especially in a world where people don't understand the internet in Hollywood. So I'm surprised they didn't just have like dabbing memes or something just spread all over Instagram. They actually had exactly what you would expect to see, which is very surprising. Every part of this movie makes it feel like a real story that we're watching unfold. The gimmick of it all being from the computer was honestly one of the strongest parts of this movie. It was just so fucking incredible to learn along with the main character what's going on and all the twists and turns and piecing it all together. And it is just so fucking good, and you never can guess where it's going next and the resolution, because they constantly throw more and more things at you that complicate it and take it in new directions, which is super refreshing in this genre, because most of the new movies that come out that fall into this category of film are just so by the books and obvious. You can always pretty much guess where the plot's going and who the bad guy is. Oh, it was the creepy librarian missing her 2 front teeth, and she did it in the IKEA using the fleshlight as a weapon. But wait a minute, that's what you thought. It was actually the really good-looking guy who was also kind of creepy, and he pretty much told you that he did it right from the get-go. Who would have guessed? But here, nothing is obvious. You're gonna come up with a whole bunch of different fucking tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. Oh, it was the reptilians, she got abducted by aliens, etc. And then you're gonna be proven wrong, most likely. And that's great. In a genre where you can almost always guess how it's going to unfold, getting surprised with really well-written twists is so refreshing. And let me say again, this movie is very, very well written. In a lot of movies, the characters are so fucking dumb it makes you want to puke, especially like the Alien movies, where when the scientists go to a foreign planet, they're in their spring break gear. It's fucking stupid. Or in the Last Jedi, where the commander for some reason just doesn't tell anyone her plan, even though that would have saved a lot of trouble and half the movie wouldn't have even happened. This movie has characters that are really smart, and they ask the questions that you would expect a real person to ask, a smart person to ask. Like, is he going to make sure to mention this small detail because it might come into play? He mentions that small detail, and that small detail comes into play. Everything has a part to play. Every detail that you think might be small comes back, and it's probably big. And it's really fucking good. Everything just comes together so nicely into this plot with a really great conclusion. So many twists and turns along the way. I loved it. I absolutely loved everything about this movie. If I had to give one complaint, it would be that it really does feel too realistic, where like an old father, like an old ass geriatric patient is using the computer sometimes with the way he moves the mouse. It's so slow. It's so goddamn slow. Especially when you're an elite Fortnite gaming god specimen like I am, who's used to flick wristing shit. Seeing a man very slowly move his mouse to the click search button, it's painful. That is the only complaint I could even think of, and that's just the biggest nitpick possible. This movie is the best the thriller genre can get, in my opinion, and the acting is superb. All the characters put on a really impressive performance. I fucking loved it. Now, all this having been said, and me completely believing that this is the best thriller/mystery movie I've ever seen, it's still not a must-see, go out of your way to go watch movie, because I don't think everyone is going to enjoy it. Let's plug this shit into the moist meter. I'm giving Searching a 90%. It is a fucking amazing movie, though. I can't stress that enough. And I really do think it is the best mystery thriller movie I've ever seen, and probably the best mystery thriller movie that has hit theaters in a long time, because I've basically been seeing every fucking new movie that's come out for like the last 2 years now. So I've seen a lot of this shit, and this is a lot better than all of that shit in that category. So I have nothing but positive things to say about this movie. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. We're looking at the new Chucky movie, Child's Play. Chucky as a concept is one of the very few horror concepts that genuinely unnerved me growing up, and even to this day, there's still some remnant of, yeah, it's kind of a creepy idea. Just that fucking haunted killer doll shit. Dolls are scary, man. And as a kid, I had a bunch of, like, dolls that I'd get as gifts as, like, a baby and stuff. And those dolls, I'd always have to, like, second guess, like, is he spying on me? Is there a knife in that doll's asshole or something? That's not stuffing, that's probably blood. All because of the whole idea of Chucky. So, although I never watched them growing up, the Chucky movies had a profound effect on what I found scary at the time. And I'm actually happy to say this movie is actually pretty decent. It is a good slasher movie. I thought it'd just be a cash grab going off of the Chucky name. Just like I thought Toy Story 4 would be a cash grab. Neither one of them seemed to be. This one justifies its existence. It's a fun movie. It does things pretty differently and pretty creatively. I had a good time with it. The only complaints I have about the movie are just the ending is pretty anticlimactic. There's some shit in here that's just a little too goofy to believe. It's just, and I understand you're supposed to suspend disbelief, but they spend like a decent portion of time showing that Chucky is like a lumbering fucking idiot when it comes to getting from point A to point B. He walks like Forky from Toy Story 4 for some of the movie, and then towards the end of the movie, he's sprinting around faster than a fucking speeding bullet. He's like the Flash. But I mean, it is a good thing, because it'd be kind of boring and a little underwhelming if you're being hunted by Chucky to have him kind of like Penguin walking his way towards you like he was at the beginning of the movie. So it's good that he somehow learned how to get around like a fucking cheetah, but never really a progression to it. He just, all of a sudden, he knows how to turn into the shadows and sprint around really quick and slash at ankles with a knife, which is fine. All the character performances were pretty good throughout, especially from the younger actors. I thought they did a pretty decent job. No really great standout characters or anything like that, except for Mark Hamill voicing Chucky. But again, a fun slasher movie. The deaths in it are creative and gory. They didn't really pull any punches there. Some of the humor, the dark humor, lands pretty well, and I didn't expect that. I thought it'd be kind of lame, shoehorned in shit, but it does a good job with dark humor. And I also really like how Chucky becomes evil. This isn't a spoiler, it happens literally immediately. It's just a overworked man turns on the evil switch. For some reason, all of the Chucky models, the Buddy dolls, come with an evil parameter that's by default turned off. And all you had to do was change the value from evil no to evil equals yes, and then they become evil. So, I mean, that was kind of goofy fun. Really, the whole movie is fun. I don't think it's a great movie or anything like that, but I think it's a very fun and good slasher movie that'll probably have you smiling. It's not going to have you scared. It's not scary, and I don't think it even really tries to be. There's like 2 attempts at a jump scare, and then maybe 1 or 2 scenes where it tries to build up tension, but then the rest of it's like dark humor, comedy, slasher kills and stuff like that, and that's when it's at its best for sure. So plugging this shit into the moist meter, I'm giving Child's Play a 70%. I enjoyed it, have very few complaints. By no means do I think it's a really good horror movie or anything like that. It's a very fun slasher movie, though, that I think most people will be satisfied checking out. As fans of the Chucky franchise, I think it does well enough on its own to justify this soft reboot, and it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. So yeah.